Sorry, I just realized that
Right.
something was wrong with my sound, and now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just repeat everything you said up to this point.
Okay. I haven't really said much. So,
Okay.
Chart, actually, I'm happy to give over to you to introduce the talk and get it started.
Okay. So, for anyone joining us now, this is our very first live talk. You're probably not seeing it live, probably seeing it on the channel. We're talking today about atheism, purpose, and the meaning of life. This is something that comes up quite often in discussion with believers. And I distinctly remember telling one believer, I'm an atheist, and they said, "Oh, I feel so sorry for you." And I said, "Why?" And the answer was, "Oh, it's also meaningless because, there's no God and you're going to die eventually." So I did a little bit of research. I found a Christian perspective, a comment on a website somewhere. I thought I could read it. It's a little bit lengthy, but maybe it will give us some insight into how they feel about, our perspective. And I think the question that we are here to answer is, how do we feel about meaning and purpose? And secondly, do we understand why, when believers look at us, that they feel we have lives that are hopeless and meaningless and purposeless? Okay, so I'm just going to read this. It's a comment on a website called Strange Notions. It's a Catholic apologetics website.
Okay.
Ryan, and he said, "I just can't imagine caring about anything if I believed it would very soon be for nothing. I just don't understand why an atheist would ever show anything but selfishness in times when he could get away with it. Yet it seems many atheists do have morality and selflessness. I don't know why, I just don't get it. But really, I don't even get why they're still alive if they believe atheism. Just why even live out the rest of a few years until they die in this piece of crap world where this is all they ever experience? They think that this world is that good that the lame experiences here are so profound they're worth more than the not caring that they will all have not even happened soon. I dwell on the pointlessness of it all every second and be like, why should I be happy that this good thing happened to me when it will soon not have happened?"
Okay.
I don't want to see this guy eating an ice cream.
So, first of all,
It's gonna end.
I find a little bit of, I found some problems in the grammar there, like the fact that he used, if you believe atheism, or was that the phrase? I'm sorry, it was something in that line.
Yeah,
so,
I think we need to excuse a bit of clumsiness.
Yeah.
On
So
their part.
first of all, like, atheism is not a belief system at all. It's a negative belief. So that's actually my problem with atheism. It's not that I'm for something. Atheism is literally it's the negative of something. It's a response to something that already exists.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even look for purpose in atheism. That's just pointless. But being an atheist, obviously, you can find meaning in many different ways. The key is that you have to understand that it's up to you to find the meaning. It's not just there. You have to find it. That's my short perspective on it, and I can expand on that a lot.
Okay, all right. Shall we ask someone else? Cecile just came on.
Yes.
And Wilhelm's been this. You were second on the chat. So, Wilhelm, do you want to give your perspective?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can answer this person with. And I don't want to go into all the answers or all the permutations of all the answers that you can give it. But the one thing that I always feel when I hear people in that type of question, is I actually feel sorry for them. I feel a bit sad. I mean, we only have one life. It's a valuable life. And to sit and waste it on the perspective that there's something better coming in the afterlife, aren't you just wasting your life? That's always the first feeling I have.
That's a good point as well. I don't know. It's I've kind of asked them this question. If you feel like life is meaningless without an afterlife or without a God, then what about all the experiences you have now? What about your family and your friends and your favorite books, your movies, nature, everything that you experience in your life? Do you feel that now suddenly loses its value? Is it meaningless? Does it have no value because you only get something valuable after you die? I don't know. And they never seem to give a straight answer to that. It's almost like they're answering a question I didn't ask.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey Baptist, how you doing?
Good. I think we might be uncovering something here that's quite interesting, because when I think of atheism, or the non-belief part, I think there's a big perspective change between believing in something and not believing in something, and we might be always skipping that kind of bridge, because you can't just think about those two things in the same class or the same from the same starting point. It's two vastly different views to take, and I think that's what people get wrong, because they want to just start from a place where they just clone how they feel about belief and how that works, clone how they think about that, and just replace the word Christian with atheist. And you can't do that, because it's not at all the same thing. It's a completely different view of everything.
I think I see what you're saying, and with some of them I almost feel like the reaction that I'm getting is they are telling me how they would feel if they realized that God did not exist and there was no afterlife.
Yeah,
it's almost like we're walking through the desert to get to an oasis, and we've made it halfway through, and now we've realized there is no oasis. How they would feel if they'd lost their belief, or how they imagine they would feel if they lost their belief. But it's not how we believe at all. It's like there's a perspective clash, like the quote I read in the beginning. The guy just doesn't understand it. He's expressing complete confusion. He doesn't understand why we could feel that life is meaningful or feel that we have purpose.
It's actually very interesting, because and I think it forms part of this whole indoctrination thing as well, because you're being raised sorry about that, you're being raised with this automatic, very deep purpose to your existence. And so when you get to the age where you can start to actually think about stuff maybe in a bit more philosophical way, it's kind of you can't break through that foundation, because this is the biggest purpose that you'll ever have. So to having to digest the idea of removing that insanely fundamental purpose that you've been indoctrinated with would be very difficult, because I can just see how someone who would be a very strong Christian would be extremely against giving away or leaving that big deep purpose and just leaving it.
Yeah,
I can understand how they can just panic. It's just like, oh my crap, now this big thing is gone. There's a massive hole now in my existence, and I don't even think it needs to make sense, because it's literally, it's like removing the RAM out of a computer. It's like I can't process it.
Yeah. Cecile, are you there?
Hi, Charles. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Do you have some thoughts?
Yes, I actually missed a bit in the beginning, but my thought on this entire discussion is actually that without religion, you actually have a bigger purpose than religious people. Because a religious guy basically he says his purpose to life is the afterlife. I don't believe in the afterlife. So for me, this life right here and right now has a bigger meaning because this is the only life I have.
Yeah.
So I actually think that that gives me a bigger meaning to this life because I don't think there's anything after this.
I think it almost sounds like what you're saying is that life is more valuable because it's in a limited quantity. Like it's almost like gold. If there was gold everywhere in everyone's backyard, it would be worthless.
Yes.
Like, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
what would it really be worth? Because there's just so much of it.
Yeah.
And comparatively, our lives here on Earth would be completely meaningless and worthless.
Yes.
It's only the eternity you should worry about. So I agree with that.
Yes, they're not actually. They're worried about the life after this one, where we actually understand that we have to make the most of the life we have right here and right now, and that actually gives your life more meaning because you're not waiting for something to happen
That's the part
later
I
on.
don't understand when it comes to religion. For some reason, they can find more meaning in something that carries on forever, as opposed to people like me who think that this is probably the only life that I have. And so that forms a big part of the meaning that I find in this life. The fact that it's mortal, it's short, it's not infinite. So that actually forms a really big part of why I think that this life is so meaningful, and it's not actually very difficult to find meaning at all. Can you guys hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I actually think that a short life is sort of in a dramatic sense, in a romantic sense, it's more beautiful than a life that lasts forever. You know, there's if you get to hang around with your family for eternity, you know, the relationship isn't as vital or important as it is if you only have this very short while with people, you know.
Yes.
So I mean that gives you pause for thought. Like, how should you treat your relationships? You should put them at the forefront and try to make the best of them because you have such limited time with those people.
Can we use that kind of as a segue? Because I think we've talked about, comparing why we think this life is actually meaningful, as an atheist or as a non-believer or as somebody who doesn't believe in an afterlife. I think that this could be a really good segue for us starting to talk about what we do find as meaningful in this life.
I agree. I see Rick joined us.
Rick.
Hi there, Rick.
Hello, Rick. Your microphone is muted.
Hi. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better. So, Rick, what would you say makes you feel that life is meaningful, as opposed to meaningless and, making you want to just end it? As that quote that I read in the beginning. I don't know if you got that.
No, I didn't. However, to paraphrase something that Richard Dawkins said, there's such a huge number of possibilities for beings that could be here, and yet out of all those enormous number of possibilities, I'm here, it would be a terrible waste to throw it away.
That's a really nice quote.
Yeah, it is. I think he also said that we are having our brief place in the sun, in the grand scheme of the universe, because it's really a blink of an eye in which we can exist validly in this place in the universe at this time, between the earth not existing and not supporting life and the earth being totally destroyed. In humanity, we might be talking about our lives being short, but humanity, our entire species, we have a very short time.
But also, if you look at how privileged we are as humans at this specific point in time, is the fact that we are actually so self-aware of our place in the universe. We are like the first people, probably ever, that were able to really understand where we fit in and how insignificant we are in space and time. We have the telescopes that can tell us all these things. But also, if you think about the pinnacle of the technology we are at, like the medicines, the technology, our mobile phones, we are experiencing something in a way of the world and knowledge like no other humans had ever experienced it in history. This is how privileged we are right now, and this is almost most of us.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's
But there's another sort of topic that comes up in this kind of discussion. If you look at suffering and poverty and things like that, it's very much correlated with high levels of religiosity. And if you look at countries that have high levels of prosperity and wealth, you see high levels of atheism. Do you guys think that this is somehow related to this whole meaning thing? Do you think that if you have prosperity and wealth, you might feel that this life is enough, but if you're very poor and you're in dire circumstances, you might feel like there must be something more?
Maybe for some people, that's not always the case. Some people have a lot of money and they got everything and they're still not satisfied and depressed and don't find meaning in anything. So I wouldn't generalize to that extent. But I would, that definitely does seem to be a correlation.
Yeah, I think Chart means more as a thought experiment. I don't think he's making a statement. It's more a thought experiment of, do we think that there might be a correlation, and if there are, if they're not,
maybe,
why?
Yes. Maybe because it's difficult for some people, because it's obviously difficult for people to see the good and the meaning in everything when they're very poor and suffering. That definitely, I think that is a contributing factor.
I think that's true.
I think if I can put in my 2 cents, I think it's about control. Whether you have control over your circumstances and the things that happens to you in life, whether you feel you're out of control.
Yes,
I do believe religion has a lot to do with out of control feeling. So you can call your magic friend to come and help you a little bit and to give you a little bit of a boost in life or a helping hand.
When people die, that's immediately what they go to.
Yes, that's true. No, we agree with you, Valalam. That's why Kate was just saying that when people die, for example, that's a circumstance where you feel totally out of control. If somebody dies, that's what people turn to.
Religion.
Generally. Even if you're not religious, she was giving the example earlier of a family member of hers who turns to religion in circumstances like that, when it's necessary.
Yeah,
those ones that didn't set the things right with their loved ones, now they want to a second chance in the afterlife to right the wrongs. of the things they didn't fix in the first place.
It's very convenient. It's something that would be convenient for a lot of people. So it's kind of, it's
They
a
want a
go-to.
reason.
Yeah,
They want a reason.
Yeah.
They want a why.
So is it possible that if people talk about purpose and meaning, it's maybe that they are appealing to some extent to feelings of comfort as well? So when believers talk about that, they have a feeling of comfort because of their religious beliefs, and they are afraid of losing that, and feel that if they lose that comfort and that authority, that they would sort of randomly moving around without purpose.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The other thing that I think this would be one day interesting discussion for us to have, is the things that, what is the things that we do feel sad about because we don't feel that, there's an afterlife or something. And I would say the one thing that always gets me is the fact that I don't think that there's like the final justice for the bad people in the world. That's the one thing I would really have said. If I could make something happens for, let's say, afterlife or something, is that piece of justice, that we know that there's like justice for that rich 1% that did us all in financially.
Yes, we like to
Like Zuma?
like Zuma. Yeah, people, this idea of final judgment, I think also played a very large role. People like to think that there will be a final justice and an eternal justice. It's very difficult for some people to live without that idea, especially when a loved one has been killed or murdered, or someone has done wrong to you in a very significant way. It's very difficult to live with that unfairness and that feeling of injustice. So it is just human to appeal to an ideology that supports the idea of final judgment or eternal judgment or retribution.
So
if we had more atheists, would we be more concerned with pursuing justice in this life?
I'm not sure. This is a difficult topic because
I go for yes.
it ties into the idea of free will. I think for me, it ties into that idea, because then if your justice system is based on being an example for other people, or otherwise being a punishment for the person who has done wrong, your outcome will be different. If you're thinking of, if you as a main perspective have the idea that what is this going to contribute to society? For example, if I punish this person by death, what is this going to contribute to the society? As opposed to if I sentence this person to life in prison, what is that going to contribute to society? Or do I just want this to be a punishment for someone who has done something wrong?
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of difference with atheists. We all still operate from different perspectives. So one atheist might say, since life is so rare and life is so important, we only have one life, it's unjust to kill someone for committing murder.
Yeah.
Another atheist might say, because life is so rare and life is so important, we have to kill someone who commits murder because we have to do anything, we have to go to any length possible to prevent the loss of life.
Yeah.
So, you can't, I don't think we can sort of draw a line and say we're all going to fall on a particular side of that line. And that's the same sort of thing with meaning and purpose. There are atheists that waste their lives away doing things that, are idle, or, you can say immoral, but, things that they would later feel they wasted their lives, from their perspective. And there are other atheists that, sort of maximize their experience of their life. It's almost as if when people take on a belief system or lose a belief system, they fall into some sort of norm. It doesn't really matter what they believe at that point. That's just how.
Okay, so maybe I'm going back to my segue. Maybe we can discuss, like, what do we think, where can we find meaning being atheists? If you don't mind, I'll start. I tend to lean towards all findings in science. So what I've seen is that based on the research that has been done on happiness and that sort of thing, I've seen that the number one thing that makes people happy in life.
Yanni, your connection is a little bad. I don't know if it's on my side or if everyone is experiencing that.
Chart, I think it's on your side.
Is it on my side?
No, chart side. Yanni, you're perfect. I hear you clear.
Okay.
Everyone fine.
I'll be back in 1 minute. I think my wife might be watching Netflix.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to carry on.
If we're having a minor technical break, is it possible for the people who are not on camera to come on camera? Seeing we're a live event.
That would be nice.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Wilhelm.
Okay.
Wilhelm.
Is there any?
Yeah. Let me see if I can get a good angle here of my face.
And if we can get rid of that terribly manic picture of Bertus, that would be really great.
Yes, that is a manic picture of Bertus. I'm not going to disagree.
What does he put in his coffee when he looks like that? Because I want some of that.
Every day he puts something else in his coffee, so I don't know what's happening there. Okay, Chart, are you back?
I'm back.
Good. Can you hear me better than before?
Yes, it's definitely better now.
Okay, perfect. So I was saying, the thing that I found, like not maybe, I can't really say that I found it, but I can say that I agree with it. There was research done on there was a 70-year research study on what makes people happy. And they found that the number one thing that makes you happy is having good relationships with people throughout your lifetime. And that's really, really something that I can relate with. That is my number one source of happiness in my life, is having good relationships with people around me. So that's where I find the significance of the meaning in my life. And it's not really difficult to do that. You just have to kind of see that as an end goal and work towards that.
Yeah.
And it's really not difficult to do that and find happiness.
I think you're right. The psychology that I've read has said basically the same thing, because we're social animals, so it makes natural sense that, our standing in our group and how other people treat us really defines how we're going to feel. Are we going to feel happy? Are we going to feel like our lives have purpose and meaning? Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably very true. And that actually connects to something else. And it kind of connects to the whole morality question, which we won't go into today. But why would you not be a nasty person and, rape, murder, steal, lie, cheat? It's because if you do that, people don't like you. You lose your social standing. You you get maltreated by other people because you did the same to them. And if happiness is caused by our relationships with other people, it just makes sense to behave in ways that other people like us to behave.
Yeah. I totally agree. Bertus, I like your new manic photo.
Thank you.
Can you give us some input from your side, please?
I actually want to backtrack a bit, so whenever you feel like backtracking,
Backtracking is good right now.
That's fine.
Okay. I really found that statement that Chart made a bit earlier very interesting, of the wealthy versus the poor people and the role that plays on, you know, how you think of life and belief and all that stuff. And I do want to, you know, put a statement out there, or at least a thought experiment, that I do think the development of critical thinking is a luxury, because I don't think that people in lower socioeconomic situations have the luxury of being in situations where their critical thinking is being developed. They're just trying to survive. They usually don't even have basic education. So I can't see that something as high level as developing a critical thinking mind would be accessible to them, versus someone who does have basic education, who doesn't have to worry about a basic survival. They have more resources and more time to actually to think about stuff and develop that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
True. Agreed.
So it's actually a shame, and that it makes sense then why, you know, it makes complete logical sense why, if you were in a situation like that, that you'll cling on to a bigger purpose and a bigger, you know, goal and a support system, and like Balaam says, a magic friend, versus someone in a more controlled, also like you said, a more controlled situation.
Yeah, that is definitely a factor that could explain that correlation, but that correlation definitely exists. What I find kind of interesting, though, is that, you know, in Africa we are seeing a rise in non-theism, you know, and that must mean that in Africa there is a rise in education tables and general welfare. So I mean, if you look at education, it's obviously doesn't help to just have books and money. You have to have, you know, good nutrition and safe environment and so on. So it's that whole socio-economic thing. It's quite complex. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's sad as well. You know.
Yeah.
It is a bit comforting to me. Like it's a bittersweet. The fact that people in difficult economical situations can still find meaning and happiness because of the reason I just mentioned. If they find meaningful relationships with people around them, it's very possible for them to have a very happy life. Not necessarily an easy life, but a happy life.
Yeah, but they'll base that on their religion for the most part.
No, like I said, the main reason I think for happiness and for finding meaning is having good relationships with the people around you.
Oh, so you're not talking about the low socioeconomic people.
I'm saying even if that's the case, they can still find meaning and happiness. And that's why
but they'll attribute it to
that's why I don't tie it to religion at all. You can have religion and find meaning and be happy, and you can even find it in your religion. But that's one source, but an even bigger source, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people, is finding meaningful relationships in your life.
Well, you know,
Yanni, but if that is if that's the thing that is making us happy, and this is one of the reasons why I joined our SAS group,
Yes.
should we not then expand our organization and reach more people?
Yeah.
Because if we have a bigger community, we're spreading more happiness.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
that's entirely true. I do actually think that the more we can establish a community of people who can form meaningful relationships with other people in our community, the more meaning and the bigger impact we will have on our society, more than anything else.
Yeah.
That is exactly what I think.
And I think that's especially true for people who feel isolated
Yeah.
because they no longer share the beliefs of their family and friends, you know, and that can really dig into your happiness. I know there was a study. I'm very vaguely familiar with it, so if it's bogus, let me know. But this study indicated that gay people commit suicide at a much higher rate than straight people do.
That's
And
yeah.
the reason for that is because of the isolation, because of the rejection, because of what they experience in society that makes their lives difficult. And the same could be true for someone who's a non-believer, especially in a very religious community. So, you know, if we can create a support network for people, that would be great because they can then grow a social network and get meaningful relationships. Just be really cool.
Yep. That's one of my personal main goals for us as an organization, to be able to provide better support to people like that, because I know how important it is.
Okay. So all gone quiet. Great.
I know it's a difficult thing. We have a long way to go before we can do something like that.
Yeah.
It's something that I aspire to. Yeah. Okay. So I feel like I've presented one thing, like this meaningful relationships thing, as a point, as a contributing factor towards happiness and meaning.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else who would like to provide something secondary to that?
One of the other things, of course, is like deeds. If you go out and you do something, that is also one of the ways that you can achieve happiness, because you have a goal and you have an achievement and you achieve something, and that's actually one of the and that reward that you get for it. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's why we also have the getting involved in the community and the charity aspect that we working towards. That's very true, Balalam. That's also something that we really should aspire to as an organization, is to have an impact in that way, because it's really easy actually for people to get involved in something like that, even if they don't have money to contribute, if they don't have anything else, if they have time. We can use those people to provide meaning and to help out where help is needed, which will in turn provide meaning to those people.
This might be a not as deep of a reason, but generally I find not having a magic friend to be less stressful in general and mentally and emotionally more healthy, because there's just a lot less things to fuss about, to worry about, to feel guilty about, and still being a good human being. So yeah, I would definitely put that on. Like you just start thinking about life from a higher perspective. Like you learn to, don't sweat small stuff like, oh no, I've sweared, it's the end, I'm going to meet Satan. Like stupid examples like that. But yeah, I would just say it's from a stress point of view, you're definitely saving a couple of years.
Yes,
And also,
life
life is stressful enough as it is. Yes.
But that's actually, I agree with you. I mean, since I can't ask my magic friend anymore to help out and make the world a better place, I realized it's time for me to get off my chair and do something about the world and make it a better place myself.
I feel like, without having the magic friend that's telling me where to go, not knowing where I am gives me something to sort of adventure. There's an adventure going out and finding out what is it that I find meaningful. What purpose do I want to achieve instead of having, a purpose forced down on me. I remember when I was a Christian, I had this whole stage where I was going through. I was wondering, what's God's purpose for my life? What's God's purpose for my life? And I was praying and trying to figure out, what should I do with my life, God? And, that's like sort of, early teenager, like wondering where my life was going. But, now I realize that all of that's pointless, because it's all just, you have to figure it out. You have to find out, what is it that I want to do with my life? Where is it I want to go? Who is it I want to
by no means makes it less meaningful than anybody else's life. Just the fact that you have to go and find that meaning makes it no less meaningful than somebody who thinks they have eternal meaning or anything like that.
Yeah, or their purpose in life has been predetermined. I think it was more than one of the Republican presidential candidates in America said God wanted them to run for president. So, when they didn't make it, when they didn't make the cut, I mean, what is it like? Oh, was God playing a prank? Got you.
That becomes really difficult.
Yeah.
God is such a prankster.
Yeah, actually, what he was doing is he was helping some soccer team win, or helping someone find their keys.
He was busy avoiding the hungry children in Africa.
He forgot to manipulate the votes in that election,
Also, I was at TB Joshua. I think we're getting off topic, but I just wanted to quickly mention that. TB Joshua, the guy whose church collapsed and killed many people last year.
Yeah.
In Africa, I think it was somewhere in Africa. Sorry, I'm just not.
Nigeria.
There we go. That same preacher, I think, was the same person who said that Hillary Clinton would definitely become the president because God told him she would. And then she didn't. And once again, his church is still as big as it was before he made that statement.
And Satan is president instead.
Mm-hmm.
Orange Satan.
Yeah, it's funny. It's you get the same effect with doomsday cults. Doomsday tomorrow at 12:30, and then at 1:30, everyone still believes just as much in the whole story. It's puzzling, but apparently it's a psychological thing.
Yeah.
People, and there's a way to twist it after the fact. To put some spin on it. I guess like maybe God was just playing a prank. He's pretty good with those.
Or maybe you just interpreted it wrong, the context wrong, just like
by Hillary actually meant Trump. They sound the same.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick note on another thing that was mentioned earlier about like the afterlife and so on. I was thinking, when was it, yesterday or today, about how heaven has golden streets and stuff, and I was telling Yanni, like, what the hell does gold matter in heaven? It's so shallow. It's like that's the last thing that's going to matter to you if you go to heaven. What's the roads made of? No, gold. It's such a human thought. You know, it's so man-made. I mean,
but Bertus, it's because that's what they saw as being really like arrive. I think if you were to rewrite some of those books today, they'll rather say there's a Starbucks on every corner and it's free.
Everyone drives
free Starbucks on the corner.
Everyone drives Bentleys in heaven.
Lattes.
Uber is free.
Eats truffles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
for the basic white girls in the US.
Yeah, you know, and that if you eat truffles all day, I mean, I've never had a truffle, but I think if you eat them all day, they're no good.
No.
Like everyone dreams of being an ice cream taster, but I don't think ice cream tasters dream of being ice cream tasters.
No.
Everything is only valuable insofar as, you know, it's not unlimited, you know.
Yeah.
We should actually, I want to actually investigate a bit more what the Bible says about heaven exactly, because I can almost guarantee that it's going to be very meek, and I don't even get.
That's definite. We as non-believers think that the Bible was written by humans. So I don't think that anything you find in there is going to be like, whoa. It's going to be.
It's actually funny because you'll find scenarios on Earth that will outshine heaven. I'm sure you'll find a hotel in Dubai that's even better than the heaven described in the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I'm digressing on different topics here.
No problem. I'm actually looking for a quote. Saw it earlier, and I wanted to repeat it here. It's a Dan Barker quote.
Oh, Dan Barker, one of our favorites.
Yeah. I haven't read any of his books.
You kidding me?
I'm thinking I really should. Yeah, no, really.
You really should. Mm.
He's definitely up there with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins, just obviously from another perspective. But
yeah, but he looks so friendly, and those guys, you know.
Yeah, you know what you should do first? You should look at his Oprah interview from years back. You'll find it on YouTube.
I've seen that with Annie Laurie Gaylor, and yes.
Yeah. Okay, then you're on the right pathway. Now you can listen to his books.
I have listened to the Prophet. Okay, I think I found it.
Yes.
Just a second. Yeah, I found quite a few quotes on meaning. Some of them are really long. I think.
Give us a short one.
Okay, so this one's relatively short. It's Daniel Bennett. I look around the world and see so many wonderful things that I love and enjoy and benefit from, whether it's art or music or clothing or food and all the rest. And I'd like to add a little to that goodness. And I guess that's his answer to meaning, you know, like the small things as well, you know, art, music, sleep. I love sleeping.
I mean, what a privilege it will be just to make by adding your small little contribution to the world to make the world a better place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice, you know. I mean, if the Bible had stuff like that, I'd still be reading it. Okay, so I found the Dan Barker quote. He says, asking if there is no God, what is the purpose of life, is like asking if there is no master, whose slave will I be? If your purpose of life is to submit as a slave, then your meaning comes from flattering the ego of a person whom you should detest. And, you know, I think that one really kind of hit home for me, because with non-belief comes an immense feeling of freedom, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
I think some people feel that there's a bit of discomfort with it because.
Yes, I would say like it's a balance between that and the feeling of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you're now you are the one and only person responsible for your life and what you do with it. That feeling of responsibility was quite overwhelming for me when I deconverted.
Yeah.
So the freedom thing was there, yes, but an equal sense of responsibility.
Yeah. And that's actually when you grapple with it and you get used to it, it's an amazing feeling.
It is.
It is almost like being freed in a metaphorical sense. I'd never say it's like being freed from slavery, because I imagine that's much more extreme. But
Yes.
in a certain mental sense, you're freed from thinking in a very restrictive way. So yeah, I really love that quote. Definitely going to read a book. You guys must tell me which book I should grab first from Dan Barker.
Oh, Dan Barker. There's Life-Driven Purpose.
I
which
like
is
the title.
yeah.
I think I'll start with the other one. What was it called?
Oh, there was a really good one. I know
just-
exactly which one you mean.
I liked. We did both, but I think that
Yeah.
one was.
Oh man.
I'm quickly looking it up
Okay,
here.
but so life-driven purpose, how an atheist finds meaning. Did both of you guys read it? Did anyone else on this chat read it?
I read it. I found that to be
Yeah.
really nice. I found it to be hilarious.
Yeah, the thing is, Dan Barker has a way with words, and
Yeah.
a very pleasant way. He's not sarcastic or he's
Not demeaning, he's real.
yeah,
Okay.
it's very
And
pleasant.
he also finds humor in that,
Mm.
which is amazing.
Okay.
I'm quickly just finding that. But I must say, just quickly on the topic again while I look here. So the other one is, oh no, that's not that one.
The number one thing he says in the beginning of that book is something that I won't forget. It's so important. He says that this book is, the title of this book is How an Atheist Found Meaning or Finds Meaning. So with emphasis on this is one atheist finding meaning. And there are so many different ways for an atheist to find meaning. It's such a personal thing. And that's really, I found that to be very significant.
That book is
Yeah.
called Godless.
Yes.
Godless,
that's a
How
really
an
good one.
Evangelical Preacher Became One of America's Leading Atheists. That's
Okay.
a lovely book. And that's
Really
his
nice.
story. Yeah.
Dan Barker's book, Godless.
I'll definitely check that one out. It's already on my list. I just have to move things up because I've got 100 things on my list. So
I sent a link in the chat to you, Chad.
Did we lose
Okay,
Vadim,
thanks.
by the way?
Yeah, we lost Phil. He sent a message on Hangouts. The link is still there, so I'm sure he can rejoin.
Okay.
Just quickly a note on being more free when you're atheist or humanist or whatever, is that I must say, and just again to reiterate that the thing I said earlier about the stress is, every day I enjoy being able to think of anything in a much more freer, unchained way. So where someone would, let's take an example, let's take the Antwoord, which is a controversial pop group, right? So I enjoy the fact that I can now look at them and decide for myself, okay, this is an art project. I don't have to immediately just judge and go into the negative, because that's what I should do. I can actually now sit back, reverse, look at it from a way bigger perspective, and see and think about it. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's a business thing, or no, it's an art project, or no, it's this thing or that thing. It doesn't have to be negative, and it doesn't have to be unconstructive. And I love that. that is one of the biggest perks for me personally. That the same with the words example again. You know, I'm really enjoying this thing of not having to just demonize everything that's not norm or that's not mediocre.
Yeah.
I can think afresh without judgment or any whatever about anything I want.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's great to have only your own biases and not, you know, 4 or 5,000 years of ancient writings biases also hanging over your shoulders. And when you judge new things as well, when I first saw furries, you know, I naturally felt uneasy with it, but on closer inspection, there's nothing morally wrong with it. Whereas when you come from a sort of religious perspective, you know, they find ways to bring in their own biases and then pull in all that religious stuff as well. And then, no, this is wrong. Or
the thing is, it's a popular thing to do, to, you know, bash ideas and to judge when you're religious. It's the thing to do. It's like we can unite by doing this.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and I enjoy actually every now and then noting or realizing that how I think is just completely, how can I explain this?
Free.
From a very much more objective perspective than a lot of people that's around me in my daily life. And you can immediately, you know, realize when people's thoughts and the way they think are bound to certain views of their existence or beliefs and so on. And I'm just glad that I don't.
Just as an example, just because the fact that Bertus and I live together, like I would say we almost have the same life. We both work from home. We're in a relationship. We see each other almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the way that he has found meaning is so different from the way that I have found meaning. And with us both being atheists, I think that's really something to be noted. Like I would say, there's sense of responsibility that came to me with the freedom of being an atheist is overwhelming for me. Like I really feel that sense of responsibility and it energizes me every day. And with Bertus, it's this freedom. It's this freedom that he found in his thoughts and his way of thinking about things. And that's really something that he found meaning in. And that just shows you that you can find meaning in many different ways as a believer.
That's true.
You just have to find it. You have to kind of create it.
Yeah.
And that's how you find it.
So I think we're sort of crossing over now into what kind of activities or things in our daily lives do we find meaningful. So, Cecile, are you still there?
If you are, your mic is muted.
It should show a little thing there. Rick, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. I was wondering if we should be thinking about wrapping up because we're going for about an hour now.
Yes.
We started late. I'm having a look at the time. Don't worry.
I'm also having a good time.
Yeah, we started about 15 minutes late. So yeah, we should probably wrap up soon. I personally think that a lot of the stuff that we do every day adds to meaning in our lives. So, you know, just listening to music or watching movies or, you know, playing with my cat, all those types of things, for me at least, you know, I feel I don't have to have some sort of grand thing that provides meaning in my life. You know, the small things can pretty much do it for me.
Yeah. One of the very big things, since you mentioned your cats, one of the big ways I find meaning in my life is connecting with my animals, i.e. my dogs. So those are like my children, and when I was a Christian, I would have, and I don't think it would have been possible for me to find such a deep connection with my animals, because I didn't, and I had animals when I was a Christian. And for some reason, I just found that much deeper connection with my animals when I deconverted. And I think it's because of the realization that when I actually embraced evolution and the fact that how we as living beings are so closely related to one another, I started to see patterns in that and similarities and ways in which their psychology could be compared to ours. And that's how I just found a much deeper connection with my animals. But hey, for animal lovers.
Okay, anyone else want to add to that?
Bertus, you must love your animals. Come on.
I think anyone, yeah. Yeah, animals are awesome.
No, I think you want to say something. Kate also loves her animals.
I adore.
Let's talk an hour about our animals. Let's change the topic.
Hey,
Let's start with dogs. Then we'll move to cats, and then, you know, other insects and plants.
And then we'll move to reptiles and spiders.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Also, I'm busy next time.
We'll have a whole YouTube discussion on atheists owning pets and connecting with animals.
Yeah, our pets atheists. Coming on our next talk. Okay, so I think, yeah, we've done about an hour. If everyone's happy, we can probably wrap it up. If anyone's got final words?
Maybe I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed our first live YouTube discussion, and thank you so much, Chart, for organizing this. I think we'll have many more successful events on YouTube, and I hope that we'll get some more listeners and people watching. Yeah, and thank you to everybody who joined.
Okay, thanks a lot, everyone. It was a great talk.
Have a great evening.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.